As you know, we are discussing presidents and their record on black people and civil rights. And when we talk about the presidents before the Civil War, we're really talking about presidents and slavery, where they stood. And, well, James K. Polk, his record was rather dismal. Yeah. Let's take a listen. James K. Polk was a Jacksonian Democrat. Okay, Jacksonian Democrats, named after Andrew Jackson, and don't let me forget that I have a bone to pick with Andrew Jackson and the Trail of Tears. Okay, don't let me forget about that. Okay. But they believed that the vote should be extended to all white men. At the time, it was only extended to white men who had money and or property. Okay. They also believed in manifest destiny. Okay. That is that the United States should conquer the United States from the Atlantic to the Pacific, regardless of the fact that, people already lived there. No, the land was there for them to conquer. Yeah. They also were opposed to banking. That made no sense to me. So, yeah. Okay. As it relates to slavery, though, James K. Polk was a staunch defender of slavery all his adult life. Well, all his life. He believed that U.S. chattel slavery was morally correct. He supported the expansion of slavery into what would become California, Utah, Nevada, Arizona, and New Mexico, both the right of slave states not to have the institution interfered with by the federal government, and the right of individual Southerners to bring their enslaved people with them into the new territory. And because he was a staunch supporter of slavery, he absolutely loathed abolitionists. He referred to them as fanatical and wicked agitators. And in 1830, when Congress debated whether to establish a prison in the District of Columbia for enslaved people, Polk argued that for punishing enslaved people, whipping was better than imprisonment because, and I quote, "A slave dreads the punishment of stripes more than he does imprisonment, and whipping has, besides, a beneficial effect upon the fellow slaves." Yes, he preferred whipping enslaved people to imprisonment. Yeah. Now, because of his hatred for abolitionists, in 1835, when he became Speaker of the House, he used his authority to strictly enforce the gag rule, barring the discussion of slavery. The gag rule was a series of rules that forbade the raising, consideration, or discussion of slavery in the U.S. House of Representatives from 1836 to 1844. And it played a key role in rousing support for ending slavery. The rules were based on the idea that Congress had no right to interfere with slavery. And it was very vexing for John Quincy Adams because he would be the one to raise petitions given to him by constituents who wanted to abolish slavery. But James Polk was like, absolutely not. We're not discussing that here because it would hurt the white Southerners' feelings. So, now, Polk had a plantation in Mississippi. A cotton plantation. Yes. Michael David Cohen, a research professor at American University and former editor of the James K. Polk Project at the University of Texas, Knoxville, said that he described in a letter to his cousin that he preferred slaves who were young and effective. He wanted them younger ones because they'd be around for a long time, so he'd get his money's worth out of them. He said, and also, in the case of girls, they would have a lifetime over which they could give birth to additional slaves because any child born to someone he owned was considered his property as well. Essentially, says Cohen, Polk viewed the Mississippi plantation and the enslaved people who worked on it as his retirement plan. Now, Polk concealed the fact that he was purchasing enslaved people, enslaved children and young adults. He concealed that fact while he was working as president because he wasn't supposed to be doing that. No. He concealed the fact that of the 19 enslaved people that he purchased during his presidential term, at least 13 were children. Yeah. All of this on land that he purchased after the 1830 Indian Removal Act. You know, the act that, violently expelled the Choctaw Nation and other indigenous nations from their ancestral lands. That's how he got the land. Yeah. Because of the 1830 Indian Removal Act. That, let me repeat, violently expelled the Choctaw Nation and other indigenous nations from their ancestral lands. So there's that. So we've established that the enslaved people that Polk secretly bought while he was in office and shipped down to Mississippi were his retirement plan. Yeah, he had no intentions of going back to law once he left presidential office. But alas, he was not going to reap the rewards of somebody else's labor. No. On June 15th, 1849, less than 4 months after leaving office, the former president succumbed to cholera. Yeah, there was a cholera outbreak in Tennessee, and he passed away. Now, his will indicated that the enslaved people were to be set free upon his death. But his wife, Sarah, continued to enslave them after his death. She would have had no money and no means to support herself if she had set those people free. So she said no.